Now, we are going to be changing month this week. The 1st of November is coming and it's World Vegan Day. And veganism has seen a steady rise in popularity in the past few decades, with dietary, environmental and ethical reasons being the main incentives for people to make the dietary change. Joining me now to discuss this further is Sandra Higgins, Director of Go Vegan World. Sandra, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Claire.
And Sandra, we worked together many moons ago. I went vegan for the month of November to see would it put me off my turkey at Christmas. Do you remember that project we worked on?
I do remember, yes.
And you're such a big animal lover. I went out to your home and everything. You were a big support to me through the month. Do you still have the blind crow in the sitting room?
We don't, I'm afraid. No, we don't, no.
He passed on, but you had many an animal that was there to be loved and cared for and put back together again. You're a real animal lover.
Not really, actually, Claire. What we do is that we respect the rights of other animals. So it's not that we're animal lovers, it's that we're very moved by the plight that other animals suffer in a non-vegan world, and we give a home to a tiny few of the millions who are killed in Ireland every year. So I suppose in the same way that you wouldn't say somebody, is a lover of people of different nationalities, or a lover of victims of domestic violence, if they have a refuge for them. It's a sense of justice. That's what motivates us, not love. That's not to say we don't love them. We do love them, but what motivates them is this issue.
Fair enough. I was just, remembering your house. There were cats, there were goats, there were all sorts going on. So, you'd obviously, made it your business to go on beyond the advocacy.
For sure. Yeah.
So why should people consider going vegan?
Well, primarily it's a social justice issue. And the idea behind it is that nobody's life is more important than the other person's life. And it's wrong to discriminate against others on arbitrary differences. So we've got quite good at understanding that you don't discriminate against somebody on the grounds of their age or their gender or their race. We would say equally we shouldn't discriminate against others on the grounds of their species. So, you're probably the most important person in your life, Claire. I'm the most important person in my life. That doesn't mean that we're not very good to the other people in our lives, but you're the one who's experiencing your life. So the hen that laid the egg that a lot of people had for breakfast this morning, she's the most important person in her life. The cow whose milk would have gone on people's breakfast cereals this morning, that cow is the most important person in her life. So everyone's life matters to them. And veganism is part of this sense of justice and equality. We think that it's wrong to use other animals as resources and objects for human use. And as a result of that, we abolish all animal use from our lives. So it's not a diet, if you understand me. It's a social justice issue.
And I'd say that project that you and I worked together on is about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And since then, the world has changed a huge amount. There's a lot more vegan offerings in supermarkets, in restaurants. It's become very much more mainstream, particularly with the term plant-based. Do you see that as a different movement to veganism?
Yes, it is. A plant-based diet is one aspect of veganism, but veganism is a way of living fairly, a way of respecting everybody's rights. So implicated in that social justice movement is a concern for the environment. And one of the best things that people can do for the environment is eat a plant-based diet. So the latest research is showing really extraordinary benefits to consuming a plant-based diet. The emissions from the impact from a vegan diet is 70% less in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, land use and water pollution. Really extraordinary impact. It's far more effective to eat a plant-based diet than to drive an electric car or reduce lives. And this is contrary to the information that people are getting. So we think that one of the most important things we can do is give this information to people. You know, it's very difficult to change how your house is heated, or it can be very difficult to change how you travel to work. Your use of fossil fuel is very difficult to change unless there's government incentive to do so. But what each of us can do very easily is change how we eat. You're right. The theme of our campaign for World Vegan Month is that veganism is easy, but it's easy when you understand why. And the reasons why people should be vegan are out of concern for other animals. And implicated in that, humans are other animals. So if you respect the rights of other humans, you'd be vegan, especially for environmental and climate change reasons.
What would you say are the biggest concerns of people who want to become a vegan?
I think there's the perception that it's difficult. And as you rightly pointed out, Claire, things have moved on so much in the last few years since you and I met. I think I remember getting you a few things for Christmas that year. But, you know, if I was to fill your basket now, it would be an awful lot bigger.
I'd get a trolley now, Sandra.
You get a trolley. You would get a trolley, yeah. I mean, there are really wonderful replacements in the supermarkets, and they're cheap, and they're for the most part they're healthy. They're fortified with all the nutrients that are essential for human health. So it's never been easier to go vegan. But what we would say is, it becomes very easy to go vegan when you understand the reasons why. So it's what people do is they say, I'm going to go vegan, and they try to change their behaviour. But unless you understand the reasons why you need to be vegan, it's going to be difficult to just change your behaviour. You're going to fall off the wagon. So, you know, the reason is that other animals' lives are as important to us. And every time you make a non-vegan choice, an individual with the same feelings as you suffers, and you're not being fair to them. But absolutely, there are lots of replacements for dairy, for flesh, for eggs. There's a replacement for absolutely everything now. When I first went vegan, there was nothing on the shelves except soya milk. You couldn't even get vegan cheese. We used to make our own.
And that's something that people will say. I hear it a lot in discussion around plant-based, that a lot of the replacements are quite processed. Some of the fake meat products, for example, will be quite processed, and that vegans might struggle to get some essential nutrients that we might find in animal products. So what's the counter-argument to that? Well,
that's one of the doubts placed in the mind of the public by the industry that has a vested interest in profiting from people not going vegan. So lots of animal products are processed too, but you don't hear quite the same publicity about them. It's definitely important to eat a healthy diet, and we would say the healthiest diet of all is a whole food plant-based diet. And you know, please don't get the impression that that's boring. You can make the most delicious meals from fruit and vegetables, grains, healthy oils, nuts and seeds. You know, what you're used to eating. You know, curries, pizzas, spaghetti bolognese, casseroles. You can make all of those without animal products. They're very healthy. They give you all the nutrients you need, and they're plant-based. So there are, you know, I'm not a dietitian, so I would encourage people to get their information from accurate sources, but all the World Dietetics Associations, including very familiar ones like the NHS, the British Dietetics Association, even the Irish Nutrition and Dietetics Association now, they have information on plant-based diets and the essential nutrients that everybody needs to include in their diet, whether they're vegan or not. But particularly, anybody going vegan should have a look at what they need to eat. And there's a few that we need to be careful about. I mean, you need to be if you're eating enough calories and a wide range of different coloured foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, sufficient protein, you should be fine. But you just need to be careful about your intake of calcium, and that's very easy to get on a vegan diet if you're drinking vegan milk, especially calcium fortified foods like tofu, nuts and seeds. And then the other essential nutrients are the ones that we don't produce in our own body. So you need to get them from the food you eat. You need to get them whether you're vegan or non-vegan. So selenium, iodine, vitamin D and B12, they're the ones that we need to be really careful of when we go on a plant-based diet. But increasingly, Claire, just like there are all the good replacements for milk and cheese and animal flesh, there are fortified foods on the market, like not like vegan, vegan equivalents of dairy products, nutritional yeast, a couple of foods like that most vegans are very familiar with. But if you're not vegan, please go to a vegan meal planner and have a look at these foods and incorporate them in your diet. They're a very easy way to get the essential nutrients.
And Sandra, as well as like getting that sort of advice, as you said, from a dietitian and doing it all properly, do you think people need to look at where their food is coming from? That's something that always stayed with me after us working together for a month. I mean, I went to a turkey farm run by two lovely people. I went to an abattoir. I watched several documentaries, and it did really change. I didn't go vegan, but it did really change how I view meat. I certainly eat a very minuscule amount of it, and I don't eat turkey at Christmas anymore, which was the challenge we set out. Do you think everybody needs to have a look before they make their choice?
Everybody needs to know what happens to animals when we use them as objects. But it's not just the flesh industry. It doesn't make any rational sense that it's wrong to kill a turkey or a chicken for their flesh, but it's okay to kill a hen for her eggs. Or that it's wrong to kill a cow for a steak, but it's okay to kill her for dairy. People need to understand that every time you use an animal, every time you buy a product that was tested on another animal, every time you buy the skin that an animal lived in, every time you buy eggs, fish, flesh, dairy, an animal suffered. A feeling animal like you was used as an object, as an object who couldn't feel and was killed.
We'll have to leave it there. Sandra Higgins, Director of Go Vegan World, thank you very much. Nice to talk to you again.